So, America and Turkey are funding this second rebellion civil war within Syria, this uprising against Assad. I understand why Turkey is defending their borders because there's a lot of guerrilla factions with different sectors of rebels that are fighting. But America, ask yourself what America has an interest when it comes to Iraq, Libya, Syria, Iran, Venezuela. America, petrodollars. The reason America sticks their nose into Assad's regime is in the hopes of toppling him and putting a puppet, Western lenient leader taking over Syria. Like Trump says, take the oil in Syria. He wants to take the oil. Trump believes in staying with our military base in Syria and to just monopolize the oil, the Syrian oil, to take it for our treasury. In other words, Trump, and this is not only Trump, this is bipartisanly foreign affairs of America, is to pop up the Ponzi scheme of all-seeing eye pyramid. I'll use that as an analogy, but the gasoline dollar, the petrol dollar, the one that controls the flow of energy throughout the world. America uses pegging our currency of the American dollar to the dependency of gasoline to the rest of the world. And so that's the reason America started this second civil war in Syria in the hopes of overthrowing Assad. America sees that Russia is bogged down in Ukraine. So now America is taking this opportunity to start a second civil war in Syria. America started the first civil war in Syria, by the way, and now we're starting a second civil war in Syria for the love of gasoline. This is why I believe that all OPEC members plus one should kick out the House of Saud for the organization. If the House of Saud, if the Saudi Arabian government continues to sell OPEC oil in American dollars, pegged to the American dollar, then we should kick out the House of Saud. Kick out the House of Saud, Saudi Arabian government, and the House of Saud from overseeing OPEC Plus One. Because America uses the House of Saud in order to warmonger the rest of the OPEC members into submission. And they prop up the House of Saud like a flunky puppet to be the CEO of OPEC. So for that reason, I'm calling for the rest of OPEC. If the House of Saud doesn't want to decouple from the petrodollar, then sever the snake head off and kick out the House of Saud from the OPEC Plus One organization as the rest of OPEC members. Member states that are members of the organization of OPEC. If the House of Saud continues to do the bidding of America and insist to be pegged to the American currency when they sell oil, when the rest of OPEC sell oil, if the House of Saud continues to peg the American currency to the oil of OPEC, then cut the head of the snake off. The Saudi Arabian kingdom, and the rest of the body would die along with it, meaning the American snake oil petrodollar would die. I'm giving fair warning to the House of Saud. If y'all don't want to decouple from the petrodollar, then we will sever your kingdom off from the rest of OPEC. And America's snake oil remedies of gasoline dollars will die along with it. So America started both civil wars in Syria for the love of gasoline, for the love of the petrodollar. That's why we toppled Gaddafi, we overthrew Libya, that's why we invaded Iraq, that's why we have our eyes set on Iran. The Pentagon wishes they could overthrow Putin in order to Exxon to covet the Russian Arctic energy flow of Russian energy through the Western Ukrainian pipelines into Western Europe. So America is all about the petrodollar. America's all about the petrodollar. We want to overthrow Venezuela in the hopes that we can put a puppet leaning towards Washington. We want to topple the Kremlin, overthrow Putin in the hopes that we can install a Yeltsin Yutz, a putz, a dim-witted pawn as leader of Russia in order for America, Exxon, to covet the Russian Arctic energy and flow Exxon Russian energy into Western Europe. Now we started a second civil war in Syria for the love of this petrodollar. That's America's strategies when it comes to America securing its hegemonic trickle-down economics as far as controlling the flow of gasoline throughout the world and the flow of petroleum products throughout the world that's pegged to the American currency. So for that reason, since the rest of OPEC is being warmongered, I want the House of Salt to decouple from the American greenback. And if the House of Salt doesn't decouple from the American greenback as far as the rest of OPEC members, if the House of Salt keeps the rest of OPEC captive to the greenback, to the mighty dollar of America, then OPEC members plus one will kick out the House of Salt from the OPEC organization. If the House of Salt, the Crown Prince, is not willing to decouple from this hegemonic greenback of America, then we will have to sever the snake's head off in order to cut the snake tail of this greenback, this demonic currency on the world stage. If the House of Salt and the Crown Prince continues to float OPEC in American currency, then the rest of OPEC members plus one will kick out the House of Salt from the OPEC plus one organization. If the Crown Prince doesn't decouple immediately from the petro-American dollar. And then you got President Trump threatening to tariff the third world, 100% tariffs, if y'all dare do trading with any other currency, even your own sovereign currencies. They don't want you to do trading, global trading with your own currencies. This is enslavement. To have the world hegemonic superpower threaten the third world with 100% tariff if the third world dares use their sovereign currencies in global trading. We're becoming enslaved underneath this pyramid of the all-seeing eye of Washington Treasury Department. The world is becoming enslaved to this hegemonic currency, this demonic currency, this gluttony of greed of America's currency on the world stage. President Trump said that he will tariff the third world if they dare do trading globally in their own sovereign currencies. In other words, they want to threaten the third world with 100% tariff to cripple your nations economically if you dare use any other currency that is not the American dollar. So you start to see that everybody becomes enslaved underneath this American Ponzi scheme of a mighty dollar, this pyramid scheme of the American Treasury Department. Everybody is becoming enslaved globally for the greed and gluttony of one nation over the rest of the world that we call the United States of America. One nation wants to enslave the whole world and everybody in it under their currency with pure greed of gluttony, demonic gluttony. How dare America threatens the third world, not to mention this trickle-down economics. It's been trickle-down economics on the third world with this Western-led Bretton Woods America blueprint to dominate the world with impunity when it comes to global trading. Within the IMF, the World Bank, the Bank of Settlements, the Swiss system, Moody's system, everything is set up by America to monopolize America's interests globally. So Lately, the greed is beginning to get out of control with Trump madness. He wants to tariff the third world 100% if they dare use their own currencies when it comes to global trading. They want to hold the whole world captive at gunpoint from the barrel of 100% tariff to shoot their economies in impoverishedness. So America wants to cripple any third world nation by pointing the barrel of the gun of tariff 100% to cripple any third world nation economically. If you dare use your own currencies. What you call that? You call that enslavement. What you call that? You call that serfdom. What you call that? You call that indentured. Servitude to one nation's currency. And then this Ponzi scheme of the American dollar, this pyramid scheme of the Treasury Department of America wants to run amok globally. Not only is the third world in danger of being crippled, impoverished 100% in the name of tariffs, but even the European allies are being threatened and extorted by America's never-ending greed of gluttony to prop up our currency over the world, including hegemonically over Western Europe. So Western Europe is also held captive and imprisoned to America's interests. Trump is tariffing France, Germany, crippling France, Nord Stream 2, Nord Stream 1. Trump has always wanted to undermine Nord Stream 2 and Nord Stream 1 from Germany and cripple France-Paris Accord for they can float gasoline dollars, American gasoline dollars, globally. We crossed the Brexit movement to drive a wedge within the rest of the European members. So America also enslaves the European members. Not to mention America's veto power as the three permanent members. They don't allow the rest of the European members to sit down equally at the table, let alone the rest of the world. So America is trying to monopolize its hegemonic world sole superpower status to the point that is running amok of gluttony of greed of politicians bipartisanly in that Capitol Hill that y'all call Washington, D.C. To threaten the third world with 100% tariff, that means you could cripple a third world nation into famine, starvation, impoverishedness, just because you don't want that nation to use their own currencies when they do global trading. What do you call that? You call that enslavement, serfdom to the rest of the third world by Washington, D.C. 100% tariffs on any third world nation that dares use the gall of them to dare use their own currencies. The gall of them. If they dare use their own currencies, we will tariff them 100%. Not to mention the OPEC members that's been warmongered for the love of gasoline dollars, American petrol dollars, to prop up the IMF, the World Bank, the SWIFT system, the Moody system, the stock exchange of Wall Street, to the Treasury Department of Washington, through Congress that controls the purse strings of the federal oligarchs, of that private banker, of the Federal Reserve's board members, the oligarchs that's controlled by the Treasury Department Secretary. So you start to see that on the world stage, America has run amok for the love of greed. The root of all evil is the love of money. That's what I will say to the Washington politicians. We tripled Libya, started a civil war in Libya, got Gaddafi overthrown. We toppled Saddam Hussein and hanged him. We started the two civil wars in Libya and Syria. We started the two civil wars in the hopes that we could overthrow Assad and put a puppet Western lenient, for we can covet the oil of Syria. We have a military base in Syria just to to protect the oil and American currency interests. So for this reason, right now we're using Ukraine not because we give a damn about their liberties and freedoms or their sovereign territories, because of the pipelines. If we get to overthrow Putin, if America gets to overthrow Putin, they'll put a yutz, a puppet, a mark, a dimwitted, a flunky in the Kremlin to be Western lenient, in the hopes that Exxon can control the Russian Arctic energy flowing in through Ukrainian pipelines into Western Europe. That's what America's interest is all about. So I will have to say to OPEC members, since y'all all are on the hit list of the Pentagon and the CIA, since all y'all OPEC members are on the hit list of the Pentagon and the CIA when it comes to America's foreign affairs, so I urge OPEC Plus One members to kick out the House of Saud from their organization if the Crown Prince doesn't fully decouple from the American petrodollar. So that should be the ultimatum for the Crown Prince and the House of Saud. If they don't decouple fully from the American dollar when it comes to oil trading within OPEC Plus One organizations, member states, if the House of Saud doesn't decouple from the petrodollar, then the House of Saud gets kicked out of OPEC Plus One, never to re-enter the organization again. If they don't decouple, if the Crown Prince and the House of Saud doesn't decouple fully from the petrodollar, then the OPEC members Plus One will kick the House of Saud out of the OPEC organization. The rest of the world cannot be imprisoned to 100% tariff because they are threatened not to use their own sovereign currencies. They are held captive by one currency on the world stage, like a Ponzi scheme pyramid of the American Treasury Department on the world stage. When the rest of the world is imprisoned by the mighty American dollar. You know what it is to threaten the rest of the third world? That if they dare use their own currencies, they will be enslaved to poverty 100%. Enslaved to poverty 100%. If they dare use anything other than the American currency. So the whole world is enslaved underneath this pyramid scheme of the Treasury Department of America. For that reason, I'm giving the ultimatum to the House of Saud to step aside if they're not willing to decouple and eject them from the OPEC organization as the rest of OPEC members. You cannot play footsies with the House of Saud anymore. You cannot entertain the House of Saud anymore as being CEO of OPEC. If they think they own the organization, the rest of the board members, the rest of the organizational members have overruling power to kick out OPEC, fire the House of Saud and the Crown Prince from OPEC. Give them their walking papers. Let them be enslaved to the mighty dollar if they want to be enslaved by themselves. But free the rest of the world, OPEC members Plus One.